Welcome to Macy's Cooking Corner. I am your host today, and I have the wonderful Dr. David Knowlton in the kitchen. How are you?
I am doing really fine. Actually, I'm wonderful because I'm here.
Oh, isn't I? Do you love his shirt?
I love this.
We
this
sent
is
each
so
other.
Cool.
That's
She
right.
sent me a memo, obviously.
That's right.
We decided to coordinate, right?
We certainly did. Spring
Sure.
is here. Summer's around the corner.
Absolutely.
We even have flowers to go with what we're going to make today, which is...
We're going to make two things. So we're doing Peruvian Chinese today.
Oh, I love
And
that.
one thing we're going to make is sort of a brown sauce on a chicken cutlet. It's called chi hao kai. And one of the interesting things is the Peruvians call their Chinese food with Chinese names, even though it's very Peruvian, so it's part of the national Peruvian tradition. In the U.S., we use American names, we use English names, so we're kind of different that way.
Yeah.
And then we're going to make a vegetarian stir fry, a cucumber stir fry.
Fantastic.
I bet almost nobody here has ever cooked cucumbers.
No.
They're wonderful, actually.
Like zucchini almost?
Well, you'll see. They have a different flavor, different texture.
Right. Could you use zucchini?
You could, if
Maybe
you
one
wished.
day. Okay. I like that. Okay, so what's the first thing that we
Well,
do?
the first thing we're going to do, we're going to make a marinade for the chicken.
Okay.
So what I have here are a couple of chicken breasts we just picked up here at Macy's, just ordinary chicken breasts. And we're going to take one egg, we're going to put it here in the bowl, the egg white in the bowl.
Okay.
And then we're going to add some Chinese sauces. Now, one of the important things about Chinese cooking is actually these sauces. And so, you know, Chinese people don't make their own sauces, unlike French cooks or many American,
Right.
well, I don't know, a lot of American cooks just go up in a can these days. But, you know, French cooks traditionally make sauces. In fact, to graduate from culinary school,
Right.
you had to learn how to make all the classic sauces. You would make them 1,000 times till you could make them perfect. And we don't, you know, that's not how it's done. Chinese people buy them. So I made a visit to the Chinese store and picked up some sauces. So what we're using today, we're going to be using oyster sauce. And oyster sauce is actually a concentration of oysters. That's why it has its name. And it gives a lovely flavor, as you'll see. We're going to be using Chinese soy sauce. We're going to be using a little black vinegar, a little bit of Chinese cooking wine. We're going to be using this puppy right here, which is black soybean paste. Okay,
Nice.
so it's fermented soybeans. And many of you may not know, but that soy sauce itself is fermented soybeans. So there's a whole big thing in the cooking world these days about fermented foods. It's supposed to be wonderful,
Wonderful
for
for you, yes.
And a lot of people are learning to make their own pickles and do their own things. Well, we're going to be using fermented Chinese foods. So if you can have me one egg, we'll get started off one.
Wonderful.
So all we need to do is take the egg white out of this, and then we're going to leave the yolk. That's a little small egg. Maybe we'll take two, just to make sure we have enough white. So I'm just cracking it open, letting the egg white pour off, and then we're going to take the yolk and set it in there. Still maybe get some white off of that.
Yeah.
Okay, give that one back here to Teresa, who's helping us again. Thank you. Okay, now what we're doing is making a marinade, and the reason for the egg white is that it helps stuff bind to the chicken. Okay?
Like crumbs, like breaded something.
Yeah, so we're going to bread it, but we're going to bread it with cornstarch.
Okay.
Now the Peruvian recipe actually calls for what they call chuño, which is a potato starch. I have some we could use it, but I thought let's just use what
So
people
what's
have
the
at home.
difference between the corn and the potato
What
starch?
they're made with. They're very much the same in terms of their
okay.
practical functions.
Right.
So we're going to take this. We're now going to add, make sure I don't do the wrong thing. We're going to add about a tablespoon of oyster sauce. So this is oyster sauce. You can see it's got a very nice kind of caramel look and a caramel consistency. And that's just going to give some wonderful flavor to the chicken.
And I also noticed you have your...
We haven't even talked about that, have
Yes, no, and I noticed it's on, so maybe you could share with our audience why you have it on.
We're using a wok. And a wok is very important. Let me get this done.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the wok, because if I forget, I will mess up. So let me take just a little bit of sugar, just like half a cup of
Just move this chicken
teaspoon
to
of
the
sugar,
side.
put it in there. And we're going to use one of these cornstarch, the small one, if you'd hand me the bottle of clear white wine. Chinese white wine.
Chinese white wine. Now, what is this something that people just go and drink, or
No,
is this
it's
just
not for
for
drinking at all.
cooking?
It's made out of rice.
Okay.
You know, you can buy sake if you want to drink it.
No, not really, but anyway.
And sake is a rice wine, of course.
Okay.
So we're using this just to be able to mix our cornstarch and add it in here. In fact,
How much? So how much of these ingredients? You had the soy sauce, which was about a couple of tablespoons, or
it was 1 table. It was not the soy sauce. We used the oyster sauce.
oyster
And
sauce
because we've doubled the
ingredient.
egg, would you hand me a little bit more oyster sauce? Let's see if it's over there. That is it.
This is it. So how much did you use?
We used 1 tablespoon. Where we
1
had
tablespoon.
More now.
Okay.
So we're going to just calculate roughly and throw in another tablespoon,
Okay.
which is where it comes from having a lot of experience cooking.
Absolutely.
Normally you wouldn't do that. You would very
Normally
carefully
you would
measure.
get another tablespoon. Okay.
Okay.
And then with the, did you add the
I added the
cornstarch?
cornstarch.
And how much was that?
That was 1 tablespoon.
That was 1
Okay, this is still bind. And now we're going to, we added a little sugar, about half a teaspoon of sugar.
Here? Did you already add that?
I already added it. So now I
Okay.
need to give this fork to Teresa, if I can. And what we need is the chicken, if you can hand me the chicken.
Okay.
Although if you want, you can smell the oysters already. It's got a little
that
bit of a
fishy-
strange smell. Yeah, yes, it's a fishy scent.
Fishy scent, but that's good.
Okay, let's take one of the tongs out, because you know chicken is not always
No,
the best thing these days because of salmonella.
that's right.
And so if I can get the tongs to work, my gosh, these things explode. Jeez. Okay, these are just ordinary chicken breasts here.
Okay.
Now, some people love to wash the chicken breast
Yes,
before using them.
I do,
The cooks are saying that
You don't
there's
have
no
to.
need to do that.
because it's already been done, or, okay.
They say that
Didn't know.
what you're doing is taking away the flavor. And that because you're going to cook it, that anything that's in
Anyway,
it will disappear in the cooking.
right.
So Teresa, if I can hand you that as well. Now all we need to do is turn these and get them nicely covered with our solution. And then we're going to leave them sit for about 10 minutes. And in that time, we're going to be doing some other things. We're going to start our rice, and we're also going to be working a little bit on the next stir fry. So we're doing 2 dishes. And the reason we're doing 2 dishes is we're going to do 1 vegetarian dish
Yes.
and 1 dish for meat eaters.
That's right.
So let's set this aside. Where should we set it? Can you set
We
it over
could,
there by
yes,
you?
indeed. I can
Somewhere, and just let
I'll
it
just
sit for a while.
put it right there, actually.
Okay, you asked me about my wok.
Yes.
Let me talk about the wok.
I used to have a wok, and I suppose I did
Did you?
years ago. You know.
Well,
Anyway.
you know, the best place is a Shanghai wok. In fact, still has a little bit of my sticker on it. It's from a Chinese store. It's just a little simple hammered metal wok.
Okay.
And one thing about woks is you never, ever, ever wash them with soap.
Never wash them, like a cast iron almost.
Like a cast iron.
Okay.
Because you want to build up a patina. And it's with the cooking oil. The only way you clean them is with water and a brush. Okay? And then you can heat them. You want to cook at very high heat. So I brought a wok ring to be able to set it over that heat. Now this is a Shanghai wok because it has the handle.
Right.
Okay? Cantonese wok has 2 little handles on the side. And it makes it very different. This one you can do that fancy thing of shh, shh, shh,
Right.
and shake your food like you may have seen people do at various restaurants where they have the
Yes.
cooking out in front of you. It's actually fun to practice. I mean, when you first try it, you can make real messes.
I bet.
When you get it, it's just like this. It's so cool. Okay, now the wok is heating because it needs to go to a high temperature. We're going to be doing some frying in a minute.
Right.
Let me talk about woks some more. These are hammered steel. Okay, and they're able to handle very high temperature. Many Americans like to buy woks that are Teflon, that have a nonstick surface.
Yeah.
You can't heat them very high. And the heating high is necessary for Chinese cooking because it allows you to sear things and cook them fast.
Right.
Okay? With the American wok, you need to cook a lower temperature. People will also go to like Williams-Sonoma, spend $100
Yes,
for a
I would
steel
love-
wok.
yes.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Go spend $25 and buy one of these, and you
Okay.
can have it for life. And these are the perfect woks, actually.
Okay.
It's the difference between what looks nice and what
And
works.
what works? That's right.
Okay, the other thing we're going to do now, we're going to start some rice.
Okay.
So we have 2 rices we're doing. You'll see the tin makers. I don't know.
Oh, making them.
They'll make them, they'll hammer them out and make them with steel.
Right.
And you can buy them right there in different sizes.
Wow.
And so the wok has become a standard Peruvian implement.
Do you think it's a healthier way of cooking as well?
It is from what they say because it's done very fast.
Fast, right.
Okay, and as a result, it tends to seal in the nutrients. And it leaves the food with a crunch. Now, there's a trick to stir frying. I'm sure many people
Yeah.
already know this, but we're going to talk about it as we go into it.
Okay.
In Peruvian Spanish, they call it saltear. Saltear is the same word as to jump, or that's saltar. Saltear is to do it over and over again. It's jumping.
Right.
And that's interesting because it also is the word for saute. And so what they're doing, you'll notice when I stir fry, I bought my little Chinese implement here. It's a great spoon because you can go in and turn like this.
Right.
And you'll see us do it. That makes things jump in the pan. So that's saltear, or you can do it like this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that well practiced yet.
And this is not hot, the handle.
If you put it down at the front, it is. But you go ahead and touch it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's okay.
But down here, it starts getting a little hot.
Hotter, yeah, it's a little bit hotter.
Okay, so we've got 2 cups of white rice in here. We also have pre-prepared brown rice. We're not making brown rice in front of people because it takes an hour to cook a brown rice.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to do some white rice. This is 1 cup of rice. We're going to do 2 cups of, is that right? 1 cup of rice and 2 cups of water.
Water, yes.
Okay, we'll put some salt in. Teresa, you can throw about a teaspoon of salt in that and turn on the heat, and we'll be ready to go with that part.
Fantastic, okay.
So then we're ready to start with the harder part now.
Okay.
Okay, but first I think we've got some other things to do.
Welcome back to Macy's Cooking Corner. We have the lovely Dr. David Knowlton here in our kitchen, and he is preparing...
I am preparing a Peruvian Chinese chicken and also a vegetarian stir-fry, cucumber stir-fry.
I'm very happy about. And we left you before the commercial. We had we have rice on the stove, and the wok is now ready to start our little Chinese fry-up. Is that correct?
Right, we're going to start our frying. And so we have 2 dishes, so we need to think through the order.
Okay,
because one of the things about Chinese cooking is you need to do things in an order that takes advantage of your heat and the process. Now we're going to do 2 different steps. So the first one we're going to be sort of deep frying. Once we get the chicken ready, we'll do that.
Okay.
And in fact, maybe we'll do that first, and then we're going to start cooking peanuts. Okay?
Okay.
We're going to fry up some peanuts. So what we have here is cornstarch.
Oh.
It's just cornstarch on a plate. And can you hand me one of that
Which one?
pot of breasts right over the chicken breasts?
This one?
Yes.
Okay. The marinated chicken.
The marinated. In fact, since you've got it, if you want to just take one of those out and lay it on the cornstarch, that would be lovely.
All right.
See how sticky that is?
That
it's
is
got all
sticky.
that lovely oyster sauce on it and the egg white. Looks a little gooey and sticky. That's just
it does have the egg in it, doesn't it? So now you just grab one of those and
lay it on the cornstarch.
Okay, and lay it on that cornstarch.
And let's make, it looks like the cornstarch spread out. And now if you want to turn it over.
Okay.
Okay. And let's try to make sure we get cornstarch on all of it. So if you want to put a little more cornstarch on it. And while you're doing that, that'll be good. We'll just leave that one there. Let's get the oil going.
All right.
So I have here peanut oil. We'll do that in a minute.
Okay.
I have here peanut oil.
Oh.
And the reason for peanut oil, just here from Macy's, is that peanut oil cooks to a much higher temperature before smoking.
Right.
And so it's often used in wok cooking and Chinese cooking. You can use just ordinary vegetable oil, but you can't get it to as high a temperature, and you want the higher temperature.
And what is the higher temperature for those that, want to know?
Well, normally a Chinese cook would be doing this at very high temperature.
Which
We'd be
is?
talking, 500-600 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Or, no, that's not, they use, they get like 5,000 BTUs coming out of their gas stoves they use. So it really goes to very high temperature to flash cook it. You simply cannot do that on a suburban.
But then again, they're not cooking for a long time.
No, it's a very short time.
It's a very short time, okay.
So what I did is put quite a lot of oil in there. We're going to let it heat. But part of what you do is, since it's a steel pan, you want it to be hot before you put oil in.
Right.
Now, many of my friends like to put the oil in a cold pan and then heat it.
Right.
That causes food to stick to steel. So you need to heat the steel and then put the oil in. And the oil will be ready in just a minute because it's already a very hot pan.
Right.
And what we're going to do is take that and shake the cornstarch off in a minute, and we're going to then cook it. We're going to fry it. And we'll do them one at a time. I think that's probably ready. Let's put the peanuts in. Sounds like it's still a little cold, but it'll be fine. So let me keep that for a minute. I think I need to put the peanuts in that.
You just smack this. No, I'm just joking. Sorry.
So let me tell you, we can slap it around.
That's right.
Anybody got a racquetball? Let's pan the thing around. Make sure it's really well cooked. No, so what we're doing with the peanuts, these peanuts have the little shell on them, the fiber, and the husk, and normally I'd want to peel that off. If I went to the Chinese store, I could buy peanuts that are pre-peeled. That's good.
Okay.
So I can buy them that are pre-peeled, and then cook them. They cook up really nicely. I'm just deep frying them to give them a bit of a tan, so to speak.
Right.
You know, give them some good flavor.
These are not roasted peanuts. These are.
No, we're roasting them right now. We're frying them.
Okay, so they were the raw type.
The raw peanuts, just here from Macy's.
Okay. Right.
And we're doing that because the vegetarian dish is just going to be things like cucumbers, red peppers, onions, ginger, garlic, and some jalapenos.
Lovely.
And so, you know, for many people that'll lack substance.
Right.
And so one of the things that is high in fat and high in good fats and high also in nutrients is nuts.
Right.
And so you can use a lot of nuts in vegetarian cooking. And you'll notice Chinese people often put nuts in various stir fries.
Yes.
And one of the fun things about stir fries, you can follow code. You can do exactly what everybody has done in the cookbooks.
Right.
And of course, most Chinese cooks learn from their mothers or learn from other chefs, and they learn to make, or you can just make it up as you go. You learn technique, and then you go for it. And so the Peruvian stir fry we're going to do with the cucumbers is actually one that comes from a recipe that involves, it's a classic Chinese recipe and a classic Chinese Peruvian recipe. It involves little strips of pork that you very nicely marinate in a fish sauce and so on.
Similar to this.
Similar to this.
Okay.
And then you add the cucumber and it makes a wonderful dish. So instead, what we're doing is taking the cucumber idea, we're adding other vegetables, and we're going to add the nuts.
Right.
And the nuts are there to give that depth, to give the richness, to really make you feel satisfied.
Right.
And furthermore, nuts are just wonderful for you. Now, I know there are people who have allergies to peanuts. I'd actually wanted to use almonds, but I couldn't find the blanched almonds that would have been nice tonight, or cashews. So we're just using what we could have. We're using the peanuts, okay?
That sounds good.
So that's why we're doing the nuts, and it looks like those are doing well. Let's just get the spoon here, check on them a little bit. Our rice seems to be doing well.
Oh, listen to them
We are
pop.
on task. It's popping in there. It's going to be fine.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. The art of the wok is amazing. In fact, there's an amazing cookbook, which is just something like, it's like wok.
Okay.
It really is.
Right.
And the wok speaks to so many things. It's like a universal implement. You can do anything in a wok. And as a matter of fact, I mean, of cooking, once you start learning to use the wok, you don't want to go back to your ordinary fry pans and saucepans. I mean, I use the fry pans and saucepans too. I love them. But there are times when I just use only my wok.
Right.
It's a marvelous cooking implement. So we're just going to let those cook, and then we're going to take the chicken cutlets, and we're going to deep fry them. Now, another thing about Chinese cooking, or Chinese Peruvian cooking, you notice these are cut into bite-sized pieces, right? Is that there?
Yep.
Cut into bite-sized pieces. Because Chinese people use chopsticks, and so you want them to have pre-cut.
Okay.
Whereas we prefer to cut at the table, as do the Peruvians, so they don't pre-cut.
Right.
So we're doing an interesting combination here. We have this big chicken breast, a cutlet. It's big.
Right.
So we're going to cook it, we're going to fry it like that. We haven't cut it into pieces yet. You could totally do that. We could have cut the chicken into chunks, marinated them, done the cornstarch, and then separated them and deep fried them. But this is the way they do it in Peru. They do this, and then they take and they cut it and add the sauce to it.
Marvelous.
So you'll see how marvelous it is when we get it out. I think those peanuts are looking good. What do you think? Do you
I
those
think
are done?
so, yes.
Yeah, I couldn't find
Could
those.
you roast it though, or no?
No, I just put them in the fry pan.
Oh, okay.
Teresa, I think I'm going to need a slotted spoon if you could. I better reach for it. I'll just bring some oil with it, we'll pour it off.
Yeah, it's good. I think it is anyway. So we're gonna now, after you've taken the peanuts out, we're gonna add the chicken,
We're gonna put the chicken
and fry
in
that
here.
up.
And of course, this just gives a little bit more flavor to the oil. Another thing you can do if you want, this is a very classic technique, would be to put a clove of garlic quickly in the oil.
Oh, whilst you're cooking the...
Well, after the peanuts.
Okay.
You could do it really fast, and that would give just suffuse the oil with a bit of garlic flavor.
Oh.
So it's very easy to do, and it gives flavor. You don't want to blacken the garlic. You don't want to burn it. You just take it until it's a very nice golden color. You pull the clove out. And by the way, it's delicious to eat just
you
like
don't
that.
leave it in there to add to the...
Not later, because it'll turn bitter.
Oh, that's right. If you leave it in too long? Did not
So you pull it
know
out when
that.
it's golden. Oops, that's a little hot. Use a bigger handled spoon for this. I didn't bring my... No, Chinese, I forgot to bring my Chinese thing. They have a nice little
The
implement you can
basket
put
thing.
in. Exactly. It's just
With the
wonderful
net
to get
at
things
the...
out.
Yeah.
So sorry, this is taking a little
No,
long
this
to get
is
these out
great.
because
They're
improvising.
browning really well as well, whilst you're in there anyway. So are we going to... Okay. Are we going to take the skins off?
No, we're not now. We would have been
is
nice.
yeah.
But they came with the skins on, so what we would have needed to do was soak them.
Okay,
as
then
you said,
dry them.
Or oven, if we had oven roasted them, the skins
So
would
you
have come right
can
off.
so you can oven roast them first.
You can oven roast
Okay,
them.
yeah.
Just takes longer.
Because I had my mom bring me some from Africa.
Oh, I bet the African
Raw
peanuts are
ones.
wonderful.
Oh, they are. And then she just roasts them, puts some salt on it, and it's just fantastic.
What are the
So-
African ones like compared to the American ones?
I don't know. Anyway, I just know where the peanuts come from, so.
Do you know where the peanut originated? Where it's native to?
No. Where?
America.
No way. The peanut?
Yeah, it's not to the United States, but it's actually to the Andean foothills. They've just done some very interesting research.
That's where the peanut originally came from, not
It's-
Africa?
No.
Everything originated from Africa, didn't it?
Well, we people did. All of us
Yeah,
people are
I
Africans.
know.
Can
That's
you tell
right.
we're
Yeah,
exactly
that's
the same,
right. Yeah.
No, this white color is strange. So actually, the original Europeans were this color.
Well, this color.
You want to see
that's
all of you
right.
Europeans ancestors? This is your color. About 10,000 years ago, all Europeans were
Okay.
a lovely black color.
If people, have something to say, just send messages to our producer at Spanish Folk 17, okay? We are just the host, okay? Dr. David Knowlton is the... Oh, you could always go to his website and email him if you oppose what he just said.
Utah Valley University. You can
That's
find
right.
me on their website.
There you go. Okay.
So we're almost done with this. I'm sorry about the time.
Okay, so we're just ensuring that the peanuts don't stay in this hot oil, which will then burn and make our food not taste as good. So it is essential that you take all the peanuts out, and you have one of those, the ones that you take it out and the oil drips out. That's what we need right now, but
Okay, let's take that chicken.
improvising. Now we're going to take the chicken, is that correct?
And if you want to just take it and set it in there.
And I'm going to have Dr. Knowlton set it in this hot boiling oil, just in case.
Just in case it splatters and
That's
splashes
right.
all over me.
I'll take the
And
plate.
we have to
There
send
we
me to the
go.
hospital quickly with third-degree burns,
And I could
right?
just continue the show. No.
And of course, there is no cook who hasn't had some kind of
Accident.
problem. You
I
see
know.
burns and things. It's
Exactly.
horrible that stuff happens. It's like the bumper sticker.
That's right.
Stuff
I'm
happens.
sure everybody in the
Shall we
audience
do
had one.
this cutlet as well?
Absolutely. Do we need more, or is that enough? Is that okay?
Let's see, can I have some more cornstarch, Teresa?
Or,
We've got a little bit
is
more.
this one here?
No, we need that for something else.
Oh, that's potato. Well, you can put this in and we could start. Oh,
Thank you. Let's just open it. We'll just put a little bit more on
Oh,
there.
that smells good.
What we're going to do with the cutlet is we want it to brown thoroughly, because part of the trick here is making sure that they are cooked all the way through.
Right.
Because with chicken, you need to make sure that you actually cook it thoroughly.
Absolutely. And this is kind of thick as well.
Yeah.
It's not like a couple of weeks ago.
No, you've got it. No, a couple
The
of weeks ago we
butterfly.
pounded it out.
We
butterflied
pounded,
and pounded
that's
it out.
right.
And so here we're not. And of course, because we're breading it with the cornstarch, it's going to keep all the juices in. So this is going to be a really rich, tender chicken.
Right.
And it's going to be wonderful. Okay, I think our
Okay.
guests will love this chicken.
I think so. And this is one of the wonders of coming to Macy's Cooking Show. I'm just going to do a plug in here right here. You get to taste this good food from Dr. Knowlton, who is an anthropologist, in case you've just started
And that
watching.
totally qualifies me to cook, right?
Qualifies him to cook because he knows what he's talking about and how to cook, and it's been delicious. So now that this is all done,
Well, God willing, I don't fail ever.
oh, he
But
never
I don't
has.
think there's a cook that's never had a mistake.
Oh my
and stuff messes
goodness!
up.
But he's able to improvise very quickly. So
Well, you have to improvise when you're a cook. And in fact,
do.
that's part of learning the techniques.
Right.
There are cooks who have to follow recipes, and recipes are important when you're first learning
They are.
to cook a dish. But then you learn the technique. You can even go learn the chemistry.
right.
In fact, the chemistry of cooking is amazing.
Is it?
It's not my area. You'll get Teresa to talk about that in another show.
Ah,
But if you look at this cutlet here, we could put the camera, but there's no easy way to do it.
Right.
You can see it's already browning.
oh,
This is very hot
smells
oil.
wonderful.
It does, doesn't it?
It really does. It
There's
smells
nothing
good.
better than the smell of frying food,
Food,
ultimately.
yeah.
It's just one of those absolute
Like
human delights.
A mix between fish and,
Well, that's
like
the
fish
after
and
smell.
chips. I remember
That
fish
you
and
would.
chips. That's what that reminds me of in
Did you
England.
bring the malt vinegar?
I didn't, but I did like salt and vinegar actually on my
you?
chips. No, it was just a little bit of salt little bit of pepper maybe, and that was it for me.
Well, you know, my grandmother...
Fries. Oh, you call it fries. What do I
We
call
do
it?
call
Chips.
it, we call it, yeah, my grandmother always called them chips, so I grew up with them as
That's right.
chips.
These chips,
And
yeah.
what we call potato chips are crisps.
Crisps, that's right. We call it crisps. I know.
Yes,
okay.
indeed. We need to
The
learn
American
to speak
show
English.
with us. Even though we're here at Spanish Fork, I understand. So I love fries, but the fries don't look like the British fries where they're very thick.
Okay, you can kind of see that's browning.
Yes.
It's a little
Oh,
uneven,
very nice.
but it's looking pretty decent.
It really
it's getting a nice
is.
crispness.
Oh my
So that
goodness.
cutlet looks like it's almost cooked through.
Right.
So we're going to let it finish browning, and then we'll put the other cutlet in.
Absolutely.
And then we
Let's
will
put this one
be
over
ready
here.
to set that aside. And we're going to then pour out the oil and make our sauce. So
Okay, to go with the chicken.
to go with the chicken.
Okay, and how is the rice going?
The rice is doing fine.
Before
We
we
don't
forget.
open, no, 20 minutes at
Don't
least.
wait. Oh.
We don't open it.
Why is that? Could you tell our audience again?
Well, then you
why?
let your moisture out.
Oh.
And so when you're cooking rice, it starts putting these tunnels in it.
Yes.
They're like hexagonal tunnels, actually. And they let the water escape the air. And then you've got pressure built up by the lid on it. And so you put the exact amount of water in, which is literally
they
2
need.
cups of water for 1 cup of rice, and let it cook.
Right.
And then, 20 minutes later, you lift the lid. You can check
Then
if it
you
needs a
do
little
it.
more water. You can add some if you want mushier rice.
Right.
Or if not, it's fine. And so we'll be checking that in just a minute.
Okay.
So I need a plate. Teresa, if you can hand me a plate, let's put this chicken cutlet on it.
Fantastic.
I think that's done. How does that look to you?
Oh, that looks
Now, if we had a real deep fryer, it would look even more evenly brown. Let's just
Right.
hold that up for the audience to see.
no, that looks
You can see it
fantastic.
there. In fact, why don't you hold that while I put the other one in?
Can just put it right here.
Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Smell good?
Smells fabulous.
I bet our audience and our camera people are just salivating
That's
over there.
right. So worth being here, isn't it? It looks really, it looks good. It looks fantastic. It looks great.
It is great. So this is the hard part where we just let things cook.
Right.
Really let things cook.
I love that. So with this, we are just going to allow the other cutlets, chicken cutlets, cook. And this is, we're going to stop here, cut right here for commercials, and let that cook, and then we'll return. So please don't go anywhere, because we're going to bring everything together.
Well, wait
Is
till we
that
do the
correct?
vegetarian stir
Oh,
fry.
and then we got to do the vegetarian, and that's the best part. I can't wait for that. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Now we have Dr. David Knowlton, who's been preparing. He's just fried up. The chicken is done now, and now we're going to make the sauce for the chicken. Is that correct? And then we're going to do our vegetarian dish, which I just can't wait, because it has all the fresh things involved. And our peanuts have done, and the rice is just doing very well. So now what are we going to do? You've cleaned out?
So now we have cleaned the wok. We
Yes, we took out the oil.
Took out the oil. You can
So-
see we wiped it. It's not perfectly clean.
Yes.
But it's clean enough, and so
And
it's still
it's
heated.
heated.
We're going to add just a little bit more oil. We're going to take
Okay.
and saute some garlic.
Oh, very nice.
I
What
mean,
kind of
we're just-
oil?
We're going to use, again, peanut oil because of
Okay.
the heat.
Oh, that's
So
right.
we're just going to take and put a tablespoon or so. We don't need very much. We don't need more fat, really.
No.
So let's just give it a little splash. That's maybe a bit more than a tablespoon. I was heavy-handed, let's say.
Right.
And that oil heated almost immediately.
It's
So we're going to
sunny
let the
there.
garlic go and let it come to a... Just,
How much garlic was that, would you say?
It was 2 cloves.
2 cloves.
2 cloves minced. Now, the Peruvians wouldn't do this. They would mash the
Oh,
garlic.
okay. Mince it?
No, they totally mash it.
Oh, wow.
And they would do it in like a, what do you call it, mortar and pestle, which then would make it a sort of a mash.
Right.
And they use that. It gives it a better flavor.
Oh,
and they
it
cook it
brings
really
out the...
fast.
Right.
Now, what I just added is black soybean paste that I got. It's just black bean paste. I got it at the store, the Chinese store. We're going to take now and add my oyster sauce.
And how
About
much
2
is that,
tablespoons-
roughly?
2 tablespoons was a tablespoon of
Okay.
the black, and then we're going to add a little soy sauce. Now we need to add some sugar. If you could hand me the sugar. This is cooking too fast for me, but that's okay.
So we're doing this pretty fast, right?
Well, when you start cooking wok, it goes really fast.
Right.
You're going to notice I get intense because it's just a lot of work.
Okay.
So it's like half a teaspoon of sugar.
Okay.
And the sugar is just to blend it. You can smell the smell already.
Yeah.
It's looking good. Now, if you'll hand me the chicken broth, please.
Chicken broth, here we go.
But before we put that in, there's a little bit of cornstarch, and I need that cornstarch.
Cornstarch.
And I need the white wine again.
And the white wine. So how much cornstarch have you got there?
2 tablespoons here.
2 tablespoons.
Actually, 1.5 tablespoons.
Okay.
As I look at it.
And the rice vinegar,
Just going to put
rice
enough
wine.
to mix it.
Enough
So
to mix
that's
it.
about 3/4 of a tablespoon.
Okay.
It's just enough to mix it. And the reason is I don't want it. Let's put a little more in there if you don't mind.
Yep, that's it. So all of this, the recipes we have started to put on our website, and you'll be able to find that link on the show, at the end of the show.
Okay. Let's get rid of that. Okay, now we're just going to add this to the sauce.
Oh, you can definitely smell that.
We're going to let it cook down.
Kind of a mix.
So we just got to let that cook, and it will become our sauce.
Oh, okay.
Let's get rid
Like
of
a
some of these
gravy,
dishes.
almost a gravy,
Yeah.
or
Exactly. It's going to be a soybean kind of gravy with a little bit of oyster sauce that'll give it just a really rich flavor.
okay.
And so I don't need these anymore.
All right,
Okay,
we're
Phil.
putting that away.
Thank you. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to let that come to a boil. And
Okay.
in the meantime, we're going to talk about what we're doing with the vegetables.
All right.
So let's put the cutlets out of the way. Would you hand me that cucumber, please?
Yes.
This is lovely, but hand me the ones that are uncut.
Oh, okay. And earlier I did try some of this, and I thought, well, these are green peppers, and they were not.
What are they?
They are jalapenos. I was
They're
like,
hot.
well, they've got a kick to them, didn't they?
Well, you know, with the vegetarian cooking, you want to add stuff to
I
give
do,
it a
definitely,
punch.
yes.
Most vegetarians I know like things a little spicy.
Yes,
They like-
I certainly do.
So we're going to add some things to make it spicy.
Okay.
Just a bit. Now what we've done here is we've taken the cucumber. We didn't have a peeler here. We forgot to bring one. So Teresa very kindly went with her knife and kind of striated
Yeah.
it. Left it with some green. It's going to look very nice, as you can see
Yeah.
here in the bowl. Okay, and we seeded it as well. So you can see it's hollow. They're like little canoes.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
And the point of those canoes
rowing.
is that it's nice. And we've left the cucumber there with a little salt on it. Let me show you how we cut it. So if you
Okay.
can hand me the knife. So what we're going to do is cut it. It's called cutting it on the bias. And since I'm forgetful, I forgot to bring my knife. So we're going to cut it into about 1/4-inch pieces. Okay, and we can do it the way I like to do it. This knife's dull, but oh well, that's what we've got.
That's right.
Okay, so I didn't do that one very well. So we're just going to do it in 1/4-inch pieces, and that goes really fast. And then we're going to add this to
Love
our
it.
cucumbers that already have salt on them.
Right.
And the reason you put salt on them is to get the excess liquid out. And what that does, it makes the cucumber just very meaty.
Right.
So it takes on a texture, a density that makes it really substantial. You know, when you eat cucumber by itself, like in a salad, it just seems very watery, doesn't it?
Yes.
And Americans will take in, you know, because
Yeah.
our cucumbers are kind of bitter. I don't know how they are in English. You guys do
I like
hothouse
we have the long, skinny
you
cucumbers,
have a
and I
different
love
name
it.
for these too, don't you?
The English cucumber.
Just
they
English
say,
cucumber? Yeah, so
cucumber.
this is fine. Let's give it a quick little stir
Okay.
so that everything here is fine, and then it will be okay. So we'll just leave those. Now let's take those red peppers. What I've done already is I've taken some, and I've just taken them into strips, and then I've cut them into more bite-sized.
Right.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is cut off these uneven parts, and we'll use those anyway, okay?
Right.
Now I'm just going to take and make strips. It's kind of hard to have a board that's moving more than I am. Thank you.
There you go. And of course, the knife is not as sharp as
No,
the
it's not
one
my
that we
knife.
had. No.
No, I wish I'd brought my knife. I don't know how I came off without it.
Yes.
Here, I brought my wok. I mean, I get
Yeah.
credit, don't I?
You
You're my
certainly
teacher.
do.
I get credit.
Absolutely,
Is
you
there
do.
extra credit in this class?
Oh my goodness, you've got about 5 stars, you know.
So
So
I got an A?
you certainly did.
Oh, I'm so lucky.
Wonderful. Well, actually, we'll let the audience tell us, shall we, when they've tasted it.
That's the way to do it, awfully,
Yes.
you know. Okay, let's let the audience tell us.
Yes.
And our sauce is boiling. This is going to be very good.
Okay.
Okay, let's just make this into strips. I'm going to do it easier. We'll cut it in half. Okay. And you might say, why are you doing it on the inside instead of the outside of the cucumber?
Right.
Because the outside is a tough husk, and so it often doesn't cut through. In fact, this knife's having just a little bit of difficulty. So if you try to cut from the outside, your knife's
Right.
often going to skip.
Right.
But if you do it on the inside, you get into the flesh, and it allows you to cut through the cucumber very nicely.
Right.
And it gives you a certain amount of control. Okay?
Yes.
Now again, the reason for this is that in Chinese cooking you'd often use chopsticks.
Right.
And so you want to put things in more or less bite-sized strips so that they can be done as chopsticks.
Nice.
Now, can you hand me the 2 cloves of garlic there?
And we got 2 cloves of garlic. Love garlic.
Our sauce is boiling. We're going to let it thicken a little
So
bit.
what are we going to put into our sauce that
It's
is
looking good, isn't it?
looking fabulous?
Just going to let it thicken a little bit and develop its flavor. And when it's ready and nice and thick, looks like we may need to add a little more cornstarch. We'll see in a minute. Let's do the garlic.
Right.
So what I want to do with the garlic, I'm going to make strips.
Okay.
Now you could say why? Because usually when people make garlic, they mash it or they run it
Mince
through a garlic
it. I
press.
usually like, garlic press.
I want it because it gives those chunks of flavor. So if you go to like Chinese restaurants, you'll often see them giving you these long slices of
Strips.
garlic. So we're cutting fairly thinly.
Wow.
Again, we're cutting on the bias. Be careful of your fingers.
That's right.
Okay, and garlic is small. So you want to be careful and not cut yourself. But garlic is wonderful when you do it like this, and it goes all throughout the food. And you know what? If people don't like garlic, they don't have to eat it.
No, they,
You just set aside. Some people will throw in dried peppers. You can set
Right.
those aside as well.
okay.
And could I have a spoon, Teresa? I'd like to try this
Oh.
just to see how the sauce is going. It's looking, can
It
use a little
is
more
looking
thickening?
good.
I think we may need to improvise a bit here and, well,
Add
it's
some more?
thickening nicely.
Looking good. Smelling good.
Good sauce. Needs a little more, pinch more sugar to get the flavors nicely balanced. This is also the improvising, you know, you never know, every day is different, the ingredients are a little different.
Well, I suppose it is
So sometimes you
important
have
to
change.
taste it, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's what cooks do. And let's see, I need a little more cornstarch.
Now we need to get your cornstarch.
Let's
It's
take, Teresa,
the
could you hand me a
ginger.
little more cornstarch, please? Just a tad. I need about a teaspoon. And I'm going to need a fork, a spoon and a fork, please.
Oh.
Sorry, guys, this is also improvising because,
This is
again, it's not
fabulous.
quite thickening enough.
So
Obviously,
you're
the
going to
amount of
add probably
cornstarch-
another tablespoon of cornstarch.
About.
Okay. Now, would you
I need a
add? You don't
spoon.
add it directly in there. You're going to have to
No.
put some.
Because if I add it directly
Liquid.
in there, it's going to turn into
Right.
grumos, they call it in Spanish.
So you're going to add
which
some
is
more
like,
water.
Going to add the white wine.
Oh, the white wine,
Uh-huh.
which, for your information, audience, is not wine that you
You don't want to drink
drink
it.
in the corner. Okay,
It's
because
totally for cooking.
totally for
It's good.
cooking.
Chinese cooking wine.
Right. Because what would happen if you did go and drink this?
Um,
Just out of, because I haven't
you probably
had.
have too much salt to enjoy. You're welcome to take a taste if you want.
No, it's quite fine actually, because yes, quite
Utah
fine.
County is not a place where many people drink. No, what I did
No.
is I tempered this by adding just a little bit of the hot liquid
Okay.
so that it's not going to separate.
Right,
Okay.
and become lumpy.
Yeah, and that should be good. Let's see what it's going to taste like. It's going to be very good on top.
Is it going to be
Would
good?
you care for a taste?
Oh, I think I'd be great. I'm ready.
Well,
No.
You're fine. You're fine. But I have to get
Okay.
a spoon anyway. So let's leave that thicken just a little bit.
Okay,
Now
you
what
know
we're going
what?
to do is we got ginger
Okay,
here.
you got your
Fresh ginger
ginger?
root. I
Uh-huh.
peeled it. So we're also going to make slices of ginger. Now ginger is very fibrous.
It is.
So, you know, if you're cooking, really, you should do it like this.
Okay.
Sometimes I get lazy and don't put my fingers back the way
Oh,
I
wow.
should.
So
and
you're
it's
going to
easy
leave
get in
these
trouble.
chunks in there? Oh, lovely.
We're going to take them, we're going to make them a little bit smaller. We could
Gonna be-
leave them, but again, this is just a bite of flavor.
Right.
So this dish is going to have layers.
Oh, love it. Love it.
So although it's a very simple vegetarian dish,
But-
what we're doing is writing in flavors just by
Okay.
doing it. Look how creamy our sauce is. Does that look good?
It really does.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Let's cut that chicken. Do you want to hand it back to me?
Absolutely. We're going to cut the chicken. Ooh.
Let's clean the knife. Clean these off it, and then we're just going to cut it
Okay.
into chunks.
it
Cooked
good?
through. Looks like good.
Yes. Obviously,
Nice
people
tearing
at
of the bread.
home, we should say, if you do, when you cut it and there is pink in there, you should put it back on the
Yes,
stove, right?
If you need to, run it in your microwave for maybe 10, 20 seconds. and
Please
it'll be
cook
fine.
it, yes.
Yeah, that's cooked.
That's great. Should look, how should it look?
It should
Pink,
be white.
light,
This is just barely done.
just
That's fine. We
right.
don't want it to be overcooked.
Overcooked, no.
Okay?
Wow,
Just make it into
perfect.
chunks, bite-sized chunks.
that's right.
Unfortunately, this
is-
knife is tearing a bit.
Yes.
Again, I don't have a
A
real sharp
nice
knife.
sharp knife really helps the
Oh,
job.
it sure does. There's nothing like a good knife.
No.
Yeah, I was
It's good
reading-
to invest in one, isn't it?
Oh, it totally is. I was reading a blog by the cook David Leibovitz. He has one of the most important food blogs. It's one of the
Oh,
highest ranked
really?
web pages in the world.
No way. What's his name?
Leibovitz, David Leibovitz. He lives in
David Leibovitz.
Paris.
Oh, he
You've been to
does.
Paris, haven't you?
But he's an American.
He's an American.
Okay.
His partner is Parisian,
Okay.
so he moved over there, and he lives there. But his point in that one post I read was about a knife. And when you find a knife that works, it doesn't matter the brand, but when it's a knife that's good for you, boy, howdy, you're going to keep that for the rest of your life.
It's true. Absolutely. We got given very good knives for our wedding.
Did you?
Wedding present. And we've been, married 13 years, and it's still as sharp.
You don't want to let another knife go.
No.
Yeah, and you can
Everything
actually
else
take
is
your
junk.
knives to professional sharpeners when they get dull,
Okay.
which is what cooks often do.
Right. Yes.
Those pieces might be a little red.
Right.
Okay, let's take some of those out because they look like they're a little
But are they
red.
going back in there? So it'll
We
sear
can
it?
put them in
Yeah,
the sauce
'cause
quickly and
they'll
let them
cook
sear. Normally we put the sauce on top of them, but we're just going to let them sear for a
A
little
little
bit.
bit. Ooh, so that's
Put 'em
going to
back in here.
marinate.
Good point. Okay, they're
As
almost ready.
Yeah, because it's hot, right?
Now the only thing we're not going to get now is that lovely presentation of the minced,
Oh,
but that's okay.
it's going to be great.
Let's take the knife off.
Right.
Now, would you get the green onions over there?
Okay.
And this is chicken chihaokai.
Oh, chicken
Chihaokai.
chihaokai.
Okay, let's put some onions on it.
Chihaokai.
And there's a little pot of sesame seeds.
Oh,
Let's
lovely.
throw some of those on it. And we're ready to go. So we're going to finish the stir fry. And we're going to have this one for you in a minute. We'll be able to eat. Our rice should be done.
Fabulous.
Teresa's already been good at taking it off the heat. Let's give it a little more sauce over there. Okay, Teresa, could you hand me some towels? Or would you take this and run some water in it and just very quickly rinse it out, and then we'll dry it on here.
Fabulous. Absolutely
Okay,
delicious.
we're ready to go, and you're going to be surprised how fast this goes.
Okay. So
So now
now,
the trick is we got to think through what cooks the slowest.
right.
And so those are the things we're going to put in first.
We're going to use some of this?
We'll throw it in at the end.
Oh, good.
Because that cooks
Okay.
really fast,
Well,
doesn't it?
this cooks very fast.
Actually, we need to rinse the salt off this first.
Okay.
So we'll ask Teresa to do that and run it through a colander. And when we get a chance to take a break, we'll get a colander from behind us.
Okay. In
And we'll
fact,
be ready to go.
right now, we are going to have a little break, and we will return with the foods to fry up for
Wonderful.
our last dish.
It will go so fast.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are at the final stages of this wonderful cooking show that we're doing here at Macy's. And so far we have our chicken dish. It's called the
Chihaokai, just a
Chihaokai.
Peruvian chicken.
Peruvian chicken. And now we're going on to the vegetarian stir fry, which I'm really excited about. And what are we going to throw into our
So we're going
wok?
to throw all our stuff in.
That's right.
But we need to think it through in terms of what needs to cook longest.
Okay.
So I think we start with the garlic and the ginger.
And the ginger.
Because those are a little thicker and a little woodier. We're going to just add a little
So
oil again to our hot wok.
all we did was he sliced it, and same with the ginger.
Let's just throw it in there. And now, how about you give me the red peppers if you don't mind.
And now the red peppers.
Yep, and this
This
goes
is about
fast.
1 or 2. How many?
2 peppers.
2 peppers.
Okay, now what I need to do is stir these.
Chunky
And so I
onions.
have to calculate when everything else goes in.
Okay.
The next things to go in will be the cucumbers.
Okay.
And so what I'm doing is thinking through how long it's going to take for these red peppers to be done. It's not going to take very long.
Okay.
You can see they're just really getting up there. They're lovely. They're just really going smoothly. Let's put the cucumbers in. Now this is the thing, how many people cook with cucumbers? I bet very few of our audience out there has ever
That's
eaten a
right.
cooked cucumber. And I'm going to tell you they are wonderful. But isn't that beautiful?
It
Just look
is
at
beautiful colors, yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, and what about the onions?
They're going, oh, we should put those in, thank you.
Yes, and you've cut them in chunks.
I've cut them into about 8s. I think we'll only put that many in.
Okay. Now, how does that work? Most of us will chop it or...
Well, what I did is I just peeled it,
Uh-huh.
and then I cut it into 8. So you can see those 2 cuts there.
Right.
So I cut it in half, then I cut the sides into quarters, then I cut each one of those in half, making 8s, okay?
Okay.
So those will cook down in just a minute.
And then they'll break up, I presume, because that's kind of big chunks for...
Yeah, and I'm making a lot of food because I figure people are going to want to eat it.
That's right.
And so I didn't want to make too little.
Ah,
And I thought, I don't know, who knows? We may have a huge audience.
that's
So
right.
this is going to challenge my wok a little bit.
Okay.
So we're going to just be a little slow here, making sure that everything cooks thoroughly through.
So when you're cooking with a wok, you're literally at the stove with the wok and turning it.
When it's on there, you turn it. You're constantly moving it. That's why it's called stir fry.
Right.
And what I'm also trying to do is separate the onions a bit. Okay,
Okay.
you can see that's starting to look really good.
It is.
Okay, and I've got to make sure the onions cook through, which I should have put those in earlier. You were right.
I
So
totally, yes. When you said that, calculate what to cook first.
And my mistake.
That's
As I
okay.
said earlier, people
Can
make
eat
mistakes.
onions raw, so
You can. They'll
this
be a
is
little
good.
sharp, but
That's
they'll
right.
be fine.
That'll be fantastic.
Okay, what goes in next? Hand me the peanuts if you don't mind.
The peanuts. Or are we doing these onions, or they're
The
just
very
garnish?
We can put those in the very last.
Okay. Oh,
this dish is
and
almost
what about
ready.
these?
We're going to those. Oh, yeah, we should have put those in. My gosh, they're hidden over there.
Yes.
It's okay. It'll be fine.
That was the jalapenos. That was probably 1. Was that right?
2.
2 jalapenos.
Thank you.
Got a
Aqua.
kick. Ooh. But they're good.
Okay, now would you mind
It's
handing
beautiful.
me soy sauce?
Now,
The soy sauce is back behind, I think.
this one is...
And that other one is black vinegar. That's dark soy sauce.
Which one? What is different about the dark soy sauce and light soy
It has
sauce?
to do with the process of brewing
Okay.
and the way they make it. So dark soy sauce has a darker, richer flavor.
Right.
You could use a light soy sauce. So I'm going to throw in here, about 2 tablespoons. We're not going to salt much.
Okay.
Until the end, we're going to check because the soy sauce will probably give it all the salt we need.
Right.
Now, over there, you also have a little bit of black vinegar.
Uh-huh.
How about you give me that?
Okay. Now, the black vinegar. I haven't heard of black vinegar.
It's a Chinese vinegar. It just says Zhenjiang vinegar, but it's
Right.
black.
Okay.
And it gives that wonderful flavor. I'm just going to put in maybe, a teaspoon. Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's just going to give it a little oomph. Let's check it for salt. I think we're done. Take a little piece here.
All right.
For me, that doesn't need any more salt.
Oh. No?
So-
Is that good?
I think it's good. The jalapenos may be a little
Even-
undercooked. Let's
Look
put
at
it on our
this.
platter.
Oh, look at that.
How does that look to you? What's we're spoons?
Fabulous.
Got more than the platter will handle.
Yes, indeed. I think that's pretty good.
Put the rest right over here. And we are ready to go. Clean up my mess.
Okay, let's put that one on there.
And you can throw some sesame seed on that if you want.
Oh, yes,
Put your
indeed.
scallions on.
Can put some of this on there. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. Who needs to go to a Chinese store, right? Chinese restaurant.
But you can get sesame seeds in many supermarkets.
Yes.
If you look in the Chinese section, now let's put some scallions on
Oh,
there.
okay.
So they're getting a little equal. And voila.
Fantastic. Oh, and the rice. We do need the rice to come
C'est ça.
in front, don't we?
Here's the rice.
Oh, should we put it in
We
there?
could put it in a bowl. If you want, here's a bowl.
Yeah, oh, not that
Nope,
bowl,
that's
not that
a
bowl.
Could I have a bowl, please, Teresa, and a spoon? And we'll serve the
That
rice.
would be wonderful. And here you have a complete meal that you would be able to make.
And as I said, we also have brown rice back behind.
And we have brown rice.
This is
for
nice sticky rice,
lovely sticky rice.
which you want for,
A sticky day.
well, it will be sticky very soon. Temperature, my gosh, is it going up or what?
It's lovely. Absolutely
have brown rice,
wonderful. Okay.
So we are ready to eat.
We Oh my goodness, now we have put everything together. We have our rice, and we have the white rice and the brown rice, and we put the stir-fry together here, and Dr. David Knowlton has his chicken, and we're going to taste it so that you may know.
Okay.
See, we got a dish for each other. Isn't that great? How's yours?
Really good. And you know, it's so simple. It looks hard, but it was really simple. You guys saw us make it. It's something anybody can do at home.
Absolutely.
And the flavor is like what you get at a really good Chinese restaurant.
Really?
And those vegetables, they are really
And
good, aren't
the
they?
cucumbers are amazing. It's not soggy. The flavor is there. The flavor is even better with the soy sauce, and it is fantastic. And you add that with rice, and you have a substantial meal.
You do. You can eat it with chopsticks or a fork, it's fine.
Fantastic. You can eat it any way you want. So, thank you again.
Oh, thank you, awful lot.
Oh, this has been a pleasure. No, really, this is, for me, I really love this kind of food. I mean, the chicken is wonderful. The sauce is great. But it's a meal that anyone can do, and it doesn't cost that much either, really.
Not at all.
You know?
That was 2 chicken breasts, which is what, maybe $4.50. We
That's
had
right.
some vegetables. And our sauces, you pay for them, but you keep them and use them over and over again.
Over and over again. That's very true.
It's really quite economical.
Absolutely. Sadly, we will not be seeing Dr. David Knowlton for a while because he's going to be out of the country.
I'm going to go to Peru and learn some new stuff.
That's right, which he will share with us when he returns. But we have other wonderful cooks returning every week, and we hope to see you here 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Thank you for watching.